Okay, so today we're going to be making this beautiful skeleton loader, which you can use when you're fetching API. So here we have a tab open for our project. So currently it's blank. So if I go to my VS Code, we can see I have an app.jsx file and a skeleton loader.jsx with this content. So this is basically the cards we saw. So right now I'm just going to start adding functionality. So we're going to have a state which I'll call is loaded, and then set is loaded going to be equal to use state, and at the start it's going to be false. So now we can have a use effect hook. So this is going to basically run once the page loads. So right here I'm going to have an arrow function, I'll call it loaded, and then here just going to contain a set timeout function. So I'll set it to 5000 milliseconds, which is 5 seconds. So I'll set this is loaded to true. So what this is basically doing is saying after 5 seconds change this state from false to true. So if we come down here, we can add a condition. So if is loaded is not equal to true, then should run this code, which means if is loaded is set to false, should call skeleton loader, and then down here, if it's not put false, which means it's true, then we should display this load complete. So basically what we're trying to do here is simulate uh, fetching data, because fetching data might take some time depending on the user's networks and all that. So now if we head back to our browser and we head back to our browser, we hit refresh, doesn't show anything. So that's because we haven't called the function here yet. So need to call this loaded, and also seems we have an error here, say it's loaded. So now if we go back to our browser and hit refresh, we're going to see we have this card here. So this is one, and in our finished project we have up to 12. So one way we can do this is, let's head back to our VS Code and then can see. So here, instead of adding this, I'll just remove it and then add array dot from, then length is going to be equal to 12 with 12, and then here we'll just map through it, say this index, and then here we're just going to add the skeleton loader, add a key of the index. So right now we see it's giving us an error because we have to wrap this in a div, and then here just go back, close the div, so we can see that error goes away. So basically what this is doing is the array.from, it's creating a new array, then we're setting the length to be equal to 12. So it's basically telling it to create 12 arrays. And then here with the map, this an index, we're adding the skeleton loader to each of the array that have been created. So this is basically going to make it display 12 times, depending on how many you want. You can make this 20, you can make this 30, you can make it 5. So if we head to our browser, let's just say this, we hit refresh, and now you can see that we have up to 12, and then we have that effect. After 5 seconds it disappears and shows this load complete. So let's just style this a bit. We head back to our VS Code, and then here can just do class name. I'm using Tailwind, so the grid, display grid calls on this grid, which is grid template columns. Then gap should be 3. And then here we can just style the H2 element. Just do BG slates 700. Let's make it 800, a little bit darker. So text white, which is the color white. And then we have then top, padding top and bottom, padding left and right, set 3. Rounded, we're going to have LG, and margin top is going to be set 7. So right now we need to do something here, because if we look at the code now, head back to and then we hit refresh, we can see the styles have been applied, but the margin top isn't applied yet. So let's refresh. Now we see it has a grid format, and then it's plain 3 column. So right now we have this, so we can just add a margin top. Let's head back to our VS Code, and then here can just do npx tailwind css, because sometimes tailwind css doesn't really apply all the styles unless you add this. So input going to be source index.css, and then output, then this is going to be this slash output.css, and then watch. So this is basically going to watch our code to check for any change styles and then rebuild the Tailwind CSS. So if I click enter, it's going to load up, and then it should apply the styles and update it. So it's taking some time. So I'll just pause the video. Okay, so now it's working. So I can just go ahead and add margin top 7. And if we head back to our browser, we're going to see that the styles have been applied, and then when we refresh, we should see that load effect take place. So the skeleton loader is being applied accordingly, which looks great. So that's how you can make a skeleton loader and use it in your project. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.